Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, October 28th. I'm Herman Green with your midday news. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. One of the residents at the Vineyard Town Golden Age home who had tested positive for COVID-19 has died. This was confirmed by both the local government minister Desmond McKenzie and Kingston's mayor Delroy Williams. The Health and Wellness Ministry has previously reported that a cluster of COVID-19 cases had been detected at the home. Meanwhile, another death has been reported at the St. Elizabeth Infirmary. And the COVID-19 death toll in Jamaica has increased to 198 after two more persons died from the respiratory illness yesterday. The deceased are a 75-year-old man from St. James and a 73-year-old man from Kingston and St. Andrew. One death is being investigated by the Health Ministry. Meanwhile, 64 new COVID-19 cases were recorded in the island yesterday. The country's case count is now at 8,851. Their ages range from 4 to 85. The Health Ministry reported that 106 persons remain hospitalized. 3 of them are critically ill. The 2 Jamaica Defense Force soldiers who were arrested in connection with a major drug bust in Gutters, St. Elizabeth 2 weeks ago have been charged. They are 39-year-old Rowan Mendez of a Kingston 10 address and 38-year-old Robert Smith of Balaclava District in St. Elizabeth. The JDF corporals were charged by narcotics detectives following a ruling from the Director of Public Prosecutions. The charges are illegal possession of firearm and ammunition, shooting with intent, possession and dealing in ganja, and taking steps preparatory to exporting ganja. The soldiers are scheduled to appear in the St. Elizabeth Parish Court on Friday. They were taken into custody on October 13 following a reported gun battle with the police in Gutters. The cops had intercepted the JDF registered vehicle loaded with ganja. The police say approximately 1,535 pounds of ganja valued at $6.14 million was seized. The military reported that the weapons seized from the 2 soldiers were not issued by the army. The St. Catherine police are still investigating a shooting yesterday in Portmore, St. Catherine, which claimed 2 lives and left several others, including a reggae boy, nursing wounds. We have the details in this report.
This is where Tuesday evening's shooting took place in Southborough, Portmore, about 9 o'clock. When the mayhem subsided, 7 persons were shot, 2 fatally. Among the 5 injured, reggae boy Malik Foster. Up to news time, he was still in hospital, while 3 others had been treated and released. Residents close to the incident say the group of men were playing dominoes when they were attacked by armed men on foot.
In my house, me, my daughter, and my granddaughter, and I heard they shot them at I turned off the light and lay flat on my belly. Then my daughter looked through the window and she saw it. And she like, Mommy, Jason got shot, and we run out and start screaming. But it was pandemonium, it was panic. Jason is a good guy. Muscle is a good guy. Malik Pastor, he just love. They just round here and they just unite. It's sad, it's sad, it's sad.
According to the St. Catherine police, the attack was carried out by 4 men. Eyewitnesses say the attackers entered the area from behind a yard close by. One of the deceased has been identified as Jason Thomas, who it's understood was the target in a previous shooting.
Jason was attacked from his rooftop about 3 to 4 months ago, right? And maybe not so long, but you know. But something is strange, and I actually picking up what is going on, but I will actually do my detailed investigation some more before I say anything.
This is the 2nd fatal shooting in the community in as many months. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
A man who the police described as a contract killer has been shot and killed in St. Catherine. He has been identified as Ashado McFarlane. A statement from the Jamaica Constabulary Force says Mr. McFarlane was wanted in connection with several murders and shootings in St. Catherine and St. Anne between June and September this year. Investigators reported that he was one of 2 men fatally shot during a confrontation with the police on Monday in St. Catherine. TVJ News understands that a team from the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Branch, CTOC, was conducting an intelligence-driven operation in Duncan, Spence and Catherine as part of a probe into the kidnapping and suspected murder of 29-year-old restaurant supervisor Kenroy McPherson. The police intercepted a Toyota Fielder in which Mr. McFarling and the other man were traveling. The men reportedly fired at the police and there was a shootout. They sustained bullet wounds and were pronounced dead at hospital. The police say a Remington 12-gauge shotgun was seized. Investigators say Mr. McFarlane was wanted in connection with 8 murders in Linstead, Bogwalk and Riversdale in St. Catherine and was linked to a killing in Ocheria, St. Anne. The police also listed him as a person of interest in 2 other cases. Mr. McFarlane was also wanted by the St. Anne police in connection with 4 cases of wounding with intent, an incident of shooting with intent in which he reportedly fired at 3 police officers, and several robberies in Ocherias. More rain-related road damage being revealed in Clarendon as residents in Thompsontown have been cut off from the rest of the parish. The only roadway to and from the area collapsed during the weekend rains, trapping residents and visitors. Another community in Clarendon, Knockout Road in Thompsontown, but the same problem as several others.
It was rough. The weather was really rough here.
Aisha says she visited the community late last week, but the downpour on the weekend delayed her leaving. When it finally stopped, this breakaway on the only road into the community left her to do part of the journey on foot.
I want to go back now and I can't get any vehicle to cross from here. So I came in that pro box and now I have to wait until the next vehicle come to get one to go to Maypen. And I really feel it for the others up here too because you have mainly Iglas up here and the next road I hear it's muddy.
That muddy road is not really a road. The pathway was created through a resident's property as an alternative. However, the mud makes that journey risky. Shelley Ann Bailey lives on the property.
This is a private property, which is ours, the Baileys. Yes, and so I just pity them for a while to come in until they can sort out the road. But please do it quick.
The other residents are also calling for a strong and lasting remedy to the current breakaway.
This is one of the main road that we have from here to Sparlings, coming from Christiana going to Maypen. This is the main road. So right now we need to have one good alternative where we can turn, route where we can turn from. The vehicle have to come from one point and stop and come to the next point and stop this, and then people can walk cross over and take. So we find we really want it fixed right now.
Something need to be done about the entrance to come in this district. You have taxi running from down here to Victoria Road and so forth. If a person never give a pee, or it go this morning when the road break down there, so you have to have something, they have to do something.
In the interim, Ms. Bailey is suggesting that a temporary fix such as marl be put along the pathway in her yard to address the mud challenges motorists are experiencing. And it's time now for a break on the midday news, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Thanks for staying with us. Cabinet is expected to get an update of the impact of the heavy rains on the agriculture sector. Speaking in Parliament last evening, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the Agriculture Minister is expected to give an update next week on the plans to help farmers who have lost their crops. He says teams from the Rural Agricultural Development Authority, RADA, are already conducting damage assessments. The preliminary assessment shows that the damage to the sector has been extensive.
I would not at this point be able to say what will be the response, except to say that there will be a response. The Minister of Agriculture, as I've said before, all the ministers who have a line responsibility towards the response to this recovery effort from these heavy rains will have to come up with a program. So the minister will advise Cabinet. Hopefully we can get something by Monday, the next Cabinet meeting, and which we will bring to the Parliament on Tuesday. And that response will cover crops and roads.
In the meantime, with concerns about houses being built in flood-prone areas, Mr. Holness says the government will have to declare no-build zones.
We know we're going to have landslides. Houses built on marginal lands, such as on gully banks. We know that when there is significant rain, which we know will come because of the weather events that we are now having, which are more intense, that these houses are going to be flooded out. At some point, as a society, we must come to the understanding that you cannot choose to go and live anywhere you feel. There are some areas which we will have to declare as no-build zones.
He says some communities should not be where they are currently located.
We shouldn't wait until there is a disaster.
And wetlands and all those places, yes.
And then we come and say, well, you know, they settle there irregularly and it is their fault. We know that it is going to happen. We know that there is going to come a weather event where and we've seen it, the landslide that happened in East Rural, St. Andrew, where unfortunately, as I've said, 2 persons perished. You can see that that's a difficult place to build.
South St. Andrew Member of Parliament Mark Golding is raising concerns about parts of the Dogs Liabilities for Attacks Act. The new act will hold dog owners criminally liable for the actions of their pets. Mr. Golding was contributing to the debate on the legislation in Parliament last evening.
But the Clause 6 of the bill makes it a criminal offence of the owner if the dog attacks an individual other than at the home or place where the dog is kept, normally, where the dog lives, in other words. And as I've said, an attack includes any circumstance which does not result in injury. So the effect of Clause 6, in tandem with the definition of attack, is that somebody, an owner of a dog, can face criminal liability, including imprisonment, if the dog frightens somebody but doesn't actually injure them. And I think this is an important point because this is unusual and I think might be said to go a bit far.
Madam Speaker, I propose to close the debate, but in light of the various proposals that have been put forward, I will not go to committee this evening. In other words, I will respond to some of the points and indicate my position in relation to them, and then we will have further discussion with the Office of Parliamentary Counsel, and I will also consult with those who have made contributions in terms of any other variation to the bill or to the proposed amendment so that we get a consensus at the committee stage.
And it's time now for a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we'll look at mammograms.
Some cancers start by looking like grains of salts, called microcalcifications. About 1/3 of cancers start by looking that way. And if you were to sprinkle some grains of salt on a countertop and spread them in your breast, the woman can't feel that. It's too small. It's like grains of sand. Her husband can't feel it, the doctor can't feel it. That's when it's early. Now, if you have a whole heap more grains of salt now, and you add some flour and you lump it up now into a lump, you get some, then you can feel it eventually. But by the time you can feel it, the cancer may have reached a stage where it's gone out the gate and gone looking into your spine, going into your lungs, and going into other parts. So you want to catch the cancer when it is as early as possible. There's a few grains of salt for those cancers that start like grains of salt. And the mammogram is this instrument that is able to pick up those grains of salt before they reach the amount to form a lump.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Choose a certified mammogram facility. Schedule the test at a time your breasts are least likely to be tender. And don't use deodorant before your mammogram.
We go on to news overseas. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison is speaking out against the invasive searches performed on a group of women earlier this month at an airport in Doha, Qatar, after an abandoned baby was found in a trash can at the airport. Details in this report.
Qatar says it will investigate reports of invasive exams of women at the Hamad International Airport in Doha. The women were checked for whether they had given birth after an abandoned baby was found in a trash can at the airport on October the 2nd. Women on 10 different planes, including 13 Australians on a Sydney-bound flight, were allegedly removed from flights, detained, and forced to undergo an inspection in an ambulance on the tarmac. A passenger on the plane told CNN that there was a very tense atmosphere when the women returned from the examination and added, one lady was crying and the others, they were shell-shocked and nobody could believe what had happened. It was such a private and delicate issue. You don't want to share that with people. Now, in response, there has been shock and outrage around the world, but especially in Australia. An Australian government spokesman told CNN this, quote, reports indicate that the treatment of the women concerned was offensive, grossly inappropriate, and beyond circumstances in which the women could give free and informed consent, unquote. And today, we heard from Australia's Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, who spoke as a head of government and as a father of daughters.
Well, we find this unacceptable. That's been the official message and conveyed very clearly in the investigation that, and it is, because it is unacceptable. I mean, it was appalling. As father of daughters, I could only shudder at the thought that any woman, Australian or otherwise, would be subjected to that.
Morrison said that he has received assurances from the Qatari government about the investigation and expects to see the result of the investigation very soon.
We go on to news in sports. It is not yet known whether world 100-meter champion Christian Coleman will appeal his 2-year ethics integrity units out of competition testing guidelines. Athletes are accountable for missed tests if they are not at their specified location for the 1 hour period they have stated. If they are not at the location, the tester must wait for the full 60 minutes before leaving. And still in sports, TVJ Sports understands that reggae boy Malik Foster is still in hospital but in stable condition after being shot and injured in the community of Southborough in Portmore last night. A source at Foster's local club, Portmore United, confirmed that when they spoke with family members of the 24-year-old, they were told he was doing well. And that's where we put a wrap on the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the primetime package. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, good afternoon.